I call to order this meeting of the Coweta County Board of Education, Agenda 789, 6:30 p.m., May 9th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Recognitions, Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I call on Public Information Officer Dean Jackson to bring you recognitions. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. Board members, good evening. We have several recognitions tonight, and the very first one is Abigail Sandlin. She has been chosen as the 8th grade state winner for the Young Georgia Authors contest. That's something that's gone on for several years our school system has been, participated in, and it's been a few years since we had a state winner, so we are thrilled that Abby took this. She could not make it tonight. However, we have Cindy Todd, her teacher at Lee Middle School, and I'm going to ask Ms. Todd if she would come down and make this recognition for us tonight. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity to recognize Abby. The Young Georgia Authors Writing Competition has been engaging students for more than 2 decades in the state of Georgia. It's open to any student in Georgia Public Schools grades K through 12. The competition is sponsored by the Georgia Language Arts Supervisors and the Georgia RESA Network with support from the Georgia Department of Education. The purpose of this prestigious competition is to encourage students to develop enthusiasm for and expertise in their writing. It provides a context to celebrate their writing successes and to recognize student achievement in arts and academics. Unlike many writing competitions, Young Georgia Authors does not provide a prompt which students must respond, nor does it provide any other boundaries that limits their genre expectations or their creativity beyond the 1,900-word maximum limit. Entries are evaluated in 3 categories. They're judged on expression of ideas, language use, and unique perspective and voice. Abby's entry, titled Rain Instead of Snow, defeated the competition at 6 tiered levels. She had to defeat competition on our own academic team. She had to beat out other 8th graders at our school. She had to win at the school level, the Coweta County School System level, the regional RESA district level, and then at the state. Her short story represents her ability to meet and exceed 8th grade Georgia Standards of Excellence in the narrative writing genre. She developed an imagined event and characters through relevant descriptive details and well-structured event sequences that propelled the plot. Through the use of narrative techniques such as dialogue, pacing, description, and reflection, she created a poignant story that contributed to a universal theme of finding effective solutions when confronted with disappointment and loss. And I will tell you, she's an amazing student. This was an amazing story that had such a, many students write stories at this level, but to send such a deep message to her reader, I was so impressed with it. Abigail is the type student, when her free time, she comes up and says, Miss Todd, will you read the draft of the novel I'm working on? So she has
I'll read it.
Absolutely. She has this language arts teacher's heart, and I'm very proud of her, and I thank y'all for recognizing her this evening. And I guess that means my time's up.
Wow, Miss Todd, you brought the lights down. I know Abby couldn't be here. Congratulations to her. If you would please pass along our congratulations to her. And also, congratulations to you, and thank you for all the work you do to encourage our students to have a love of writing at Lee Middle School. Thank you so much.
Our next recognition tonight is a continuation of something that we celebrated last month. We had the high school all-state band members for Coweta County. Tonight, we have middle school all-state band selectees, and we have them from Bass Middle School. And we have Dr. Cindy Bennett with us tonight and band director Oscar Prado. If I'd ask them to come on down, if we could, and your students as well, please.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to come to the board meeting tonight and receive this recognition. Bass Middle School, of course, appreciates the recognition in addition to the great honor that it is to have Mr. Oscar Prado here with us, our band director at Bass Middle School, in addition to our 8th grade students, Harrison Henry and Ansley Dover. And I'm going to ask Mr. Prado to talk to you a little bit about the process for middle school students who are recognized as all-state band members.
Thank you, Board, for having us this evening. Over 3,000 students in the state of Georgia auditioned to be a part of the all-state band for an 80-piece ensemble. So it's very rigorous. They go through 2 audition processes where they have to prepare an etude, memorize some scales, and it's outside of the school stuff that they're working on in school, right? So they do this audition where they have to compete against students the county, district level, and then they get a certain score. Then after that score, they go to the state level auditions, and they are competing against students from the state of Georgia to be a part of this very, very prestigious ensemble. It's like the all-star team in the band world, right? It's our Pro Bowl for a band. I'm very proud of these 2 students as the only 2 students in Coweta County at the middle school level to represent our county at the state level. And that is extremely awesome because not only are they 8th graders, but they're 8th graders who joined band during COVID years, right? And so I know Ansley did band all virtual in 6th grade, and Harrison joined in 7th grade, and they've just worked tremendously hard for this accomplishment. I'm extremely proud of them and their parents and their support and our community. Thank you so much for recognizing them this evening.
What instruments do y'all play? Mr. Prado, can you tell us what instruments they play?
Absolutely. Ansley Dover, bass clarinet, and Harrison Henry on trumpet.
Very good.
For our next recognition, actually, if I have your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go out of order as we've listed it here. I'd like to call first the 2023 Page Star students for recognition. Page Star, the Star Student and Teacher Program is something that goes on every year. We have a very long tradition with participation with the Star program. And just to remind you, the Student Teacher Achievement Recognition Program recognizes top academics in Georgia high schools every year at the school, county, regional, and state levels. To be named stars, senior class students must have the highest score in their school in one sitting on the Scholastic Assessment Test taken through the November test date of their senior year, and must also be in the top 10% or top 10 students of their class based on grade point average. In other words, these are simply some of the best and brightest students we have in a very competitive field at our 3 high schools. There are actually 6 star students, 3 of those in our schools at Northgate, East Coweta, and Noonan. And we have the star students and teachers along with their principals for recognition. We have with us Dr. Chase Puckett of Noonan High School, Dr. Ashley Wilkes of Northgate High School, and also Assistant Principal Hap Hines of East Coweta High School. I'm going to ask y'all all to come down if y'all wouldn't mind, and I'm going to ask Mr. Hines if he wouldn't mind starting us off and telling us or introducing each of your star students and star teachers.
Thank you. It is an honor to stand before you all tonight to introduce our star student and star teacher from East Coweta High School. Among some of the things the star student represents is the senior who scored the highest SAT score in one test administration. This year's star student is Sebastian Mirabella. As a star student, Sebastian was given the opportunity to recognize a teacher who has made a positive impact on his academic development at ECHS. This year's star teacher, who Sebastian chose, is Mr. Marcus Stevens. At EC, we are very proud of Sebastian's accomplishments, which are indicative of his hard work and intellectual talent. Where he has very impressive college options to choose among, such as Georgia Tech, the University of Georgia, and Kennesaw State University, to name a few. Mr. Stevens, who has shined as a calculus teacher, has an amazing gift for helping students learn and grow in his classroom. At this time, I'd like to congratulate Sebastian and Mr. Stevens on becoming the class of 2023 star student and star teacher of East Coweta High School.
Good evening, how are y'all? My name is Dr. Ashley Wilkes, proud principal of Northgate High School. It is my absolute honor to introduce our 2023 star student from Northgate High School, Mr. Thomas Becker. Thomas is an absolutely outstanding student in the classroom, but more importantly, he's an outstanding human being all around. We could not be more proud of him and his hard work. He'll be attending Georgia Tech in the fall, and he has selected Mr. Jody Haynes as his star teacher. Mr. Jody Haynes is a member of our math department. He's actually department chair, and we could not be more proud of Thomas and his future. Thank you.
So glad to be here, and it is an absolute privilege to introduce to you the Noonan High School star student. He's a phenomenal young man, a gifted musician. He was selected to go on to represent Noonan High School, and it's entirely because of his work ethic and his impeccable character. He is a phenomenal young man, and he has committed to Georgia Tech, where he'll major in biochemistry. And he also selected a former Noonan High School student who is also a phenomenal AP chemistry teacher at Noonan High School, Mr. Chris Akers.
While he's getting the picture, I'll say congratulations. I was definitely never in the running to be the star student. You are one impressive group, and to our teachers, thank you as well.
I'm going to ask Dr. Wilkes to stay down here for a few more moments because we have another special presentation from Northgate High School. It's a state honor, as we always recognize at the top of our board meetings. And this is of the Northgate Thespians of Troop 6062, who were asked to give the closing performance at the Georgia Thespians Showcase. And to tell you a little bit about what that means and why that's such an honor, in a couple of ways we'd like to demonstrate why that's such an honor. We have Dr. Wilkes and also Cassandra Scott, who is the theater teacher at Northgate High School. Go right ahead.
Back again, how are y'all? It is my honor again to represent another aspect of Northgate High School, and that's our Fine Arts Department. We have huge leadership in that area with Ms. Barksdale and Ms. Scott, and tonight you're going to get to see one more finale of our amazing students as they put on a little bit of Beauty and the Beast. But before that, Ms. Scott is going to share with you part of their accolades that they received this school year.
Thank you so much for having us. Northgate Thespian Troop 6062 performed a piece for Georgia Thespians Linda P. Wise closing showcase. The students completed a video audition in the theater classroom, which is amazing because they were up against huge schools with big performance spaces, and they were in my classroom and wearing all black, and it was really phenomenal. And so on January 12th, they submitted a video, and they received overall superiors with 23 out of 24 points, which was huge. And then they were one of 125 performances that received a callback at Georgia Thespian Conference out of 550 submissions. So this was massive. At their live callback, they again received an overall superior score, and then they were one of 18 schools and performances that were able to perform for over 2,000 people. So this was a phenomenal experience for them, something that they have never gotten before and never received, and we are so thankful to be able to have theater in our schools and theater in our community. So thank you so much for your support. Students, if you'll take your places. They'll be performing a medley of Beauty and the Beast, and so you'll get to see different pieces where they're in their own roles, and then pieces where we've had students step into other roles. And so it showcases the storyline of Beauty and the Beast in a very small snapshot for you. Thank you. Enjoy.
Hello, Belle. Hello, Gaston. You know, this is the day your dreams come true. You've been dreaming just one dream nearly all your life. Hoping, scheming, just one theme. Will you be a wife? Will you be some He-Man's property? Good news, that He-Man's me.
The day that we've been waiting for will finally be at our hands.
Human again.
Yes, think what that means. I'll be cooking again, be good looking again, with a mademoiselle on each arm. When I'm human again, only human again, poised and polished and gleaming with charm. I'll be courting again, chic and sporting again. It should hold several husbands and love. I'll hop down off the shelf and to sweet be myself. I can't wait to be human again. When we're human again, only human again. When the Big Macs and whatnots no more. Little push, little shove, they could whoosh, fall in love. It always have joy. They'll wear lipstick and rouge, and I won't be so huge, but they'll easily fit through that door. I'll have suits and walk there, I'll have gowns, I'll have hair. It's my prayer to be human again. When I'm human again, only human again, when the world once more starts making sense, I'll unwind for change.
This second strange.
Can I help it if I'm tense? In a shack by the sea, I'll sit back sipping tea. Let my early retirement commence. Far from fools made of wax, I'll get down to brass tacks and relax. When I'm human again.
The beast will make off with your children. They'll come after them in the night.
You would never do that.
I say we kill the beast.
We're not safe until he's dead. He'll come stalking us at night.
Said to sacrifice our children to his raunchous appetite.
He'll wreak havoc on our village if we let him wander free.
So it's time to take some action, boys. It's time to follow me. Through a mist, through a wood, through the darkness and the shadows. It's a nightmare, but it's one exciting ride.
Say a prayer, then we're there at the drawbridge of the castle, and there's something truly terrible inside.
It's a beast. He's got fangs, razor sharp ones. Massive paws, pillar claws for the feast. Hear him roar, see him foam, but we're not coming home till he's dead. Good and dead. Kill the beast.
All right, then, but be quiet about it.
Of course, but what is dinner without a bit of music?
Yes,
our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin round your neck, shall we? And we provide the rest. Soup du jour, hot hors why we only leave the cell twice a glaze.
It's delicious.
Don't believe me, ask the dishes. They can sing, they can dance. After all this is France, and a dinner here is never second best. Go on and fold your menu, take a glance, and then you'll be our guest. We our guest, we our guest.
It's a guest, six alive, we'll all be blessed. Wine's been poured and things alone, I'll have the napkins freshly pressed. With dessert, tea, my students by me. While the cups do their soft shoeing, I'll be bubbling, I'll be brewing. I'll get warm, hot, and sometimes not sweet but bitter. We want the company for us.
We got a lot to do.
Is it one love or two? We are guests.
She's our guest.
She's our guest.
She's our guest. Be our guest. Be our guest. Be our guest.
I will take the microphone first because I had the privilege of seeing this show at the Nixon Center. And you guys, if you didn't get to see it, they could go to Disney and perform this show. You guys were outstanding, just outstanding. I snuck back in on Saturday, as I told you, to kind of get a second glimpse because you guys were by far one of the best I've seen this year. It was fantastic.
And I'll second everything that Ms. D said. I came with my wife on Friday night, and yeah, it's one of the best I've ever seen. Congratulations. I know a lot of hard work goes into it. And for those of you not aware, because I was not until I started serving on the board, all three high schools do a musical in the spring of every year. So if you didn't see them this year, and even if you don't think you're a musical kind of person, because I would have been in that category a few years ago, I look forward to them every year. So pay attention to the Noonan Times-Herald about late March, April next year. And I'm guarantee it'll be worth your time. Again, congratulations. That was great.
And I was going to second Amy's, but you beat me to the second. But thank you for the encore performance. It was great. I've really enjoyed when I went on Saturday night. And like Buzz said, you know, the arts in our schools between band and drama and chorus, I mean, they're thriving. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 11th, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? You were abstaining. Mr. Robertson abstaining, 6-0. Is there a motion to approve the called minutes of May 2nd, 2023?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Action items, Group 1, Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first action item I have for you in Group 1 is to request approval to amend the intergovernmental agreement between Coweta County and the Coweta County School System for paving at Brooks Elementary and Eastside Elementary Schools. An intergovernmental agreement between Coweta County and the school system for the construction of additional stacking lanes at Brooks and Eastside Elementary Schools was approved on March the 14th of 2023. The plan for Brooks was revised to delete the additional stacking lane and to add an additional exit drive from the front loop. This revision reduced the cost at Brooks from $213,406.69 to $54,236.60. To reduce the scope of work at Brooks Elementary School, to resurface parking at Jefferson Parkway Elementary and Noonan Crossing Elementary, and construct an additional parking lot at Noonan Crossing Elementary, the total IGA will be increased by an estimated cost of $760,502.72. Copy of the intergovernmental agreement supporting documentation is attached. Board members, just briefly, we originally were going to have to do more extensive work on the entrance at Brooks. We found a different solution that reduced the cost on that project. Jefferson Parkway and Noonan Crossing have been in need of some paving and some work for years. So saving that money at Brooks gives us the opportunity to do the work at the other two schools, and nothing has changed on the east side project. So east side will remain the same. But board members, I bring that to you for approval tonight.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the amended intergovernmental agreement between Coweta County and the Coweta County School System for paving at Brooks Elementary and East Side Elementary Schools. Is that an appropriate, okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
The next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to consider a request from the City of Grantville to petition the Department of Transportation for a permit to install red speed cameras in the Glanton Elementary Zone on Highway 29. City of Grantville has requested that the Board of Education petition the Department of Transportation for a permit allowing for the use of an automated traffic enforcement safety device in the Glanton Elementary School Zone. Per OCGA 40-14-18A2, each school within whose school zone such automated traffic enforcement safety device is to be placed shall first apply for and secure a permit from the Department of Transportation for the use of such device. If approved, the City of Grantville will be responsible for complying with all DOT rules regarding the use of this device. Attached, there are several documents. You have, first off, the information that Grantville sent me along with their city ordinance for this. You have a letter that I sent back to the City of Grantville notifying them that if they wanted me to make this request of you, to please grab the DOT document and submit it to me, which they did. And then finally, you have the DOT application and permit. It's just a quirk in the state law that the school system has to be the requesting authority for this permit. So with that, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to, this wording, to petition the Department of Transportation for a permit to install red speed cameras in the Glanton Elementary School Zone on Highway 29. This came from the City of Grantville. Is there a motion to approve?
Can I ask a quick question?
We had to get into discussion first.
Okay, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
So
DeVos.
moved.
Is there a second? Okay, now discussion, Mr. DeVos.
Okay, thank you. If somebody were to receive a citation in the school zone, where does that money or the fine, who does it go to?
That would go to the City of Grantville, and the City of Grantville would be responsible for administering all of that or administering all of that.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll also add, Mr. Chairman, a quick comment is I lived very near to that area and travel 29 going over that way fairly often. And I can tell you, at least from my experience, people do not slow down. I don't go through there a lot at the time, school zone warnings would be active in the morning and the afternoon, but some. And it's a major highway, and I think people think it's, free for all, 55, 65, and probably more right on by the school. So good move from City of Grantville. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
The next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve a transportation surplus list. School board policy, DO, requires board approval for the public sale of school property. It further requires that any public sale amounting to more than $500 be advertised and sold to the highest bidder. We have a list of items identified below that we're ready to sell. Once these items and vehicles are declared surplus property, the sale will be advertised to request sealed bids. Mr. Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the transportation surplus list. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I have a discussion question, Dr. Horton. I understand that we're going to do the sealed bid for these. Where are we advertising them?
And Mr. Chapman, you may have to help me on this. I know all bids must be advertised on our website for a period of time. Anywhere else in particular that this sealed bid would need to be advertised? Newspaper as well. So website and newspaper.
Okay, just checking.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
The next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve a proposal from Northgate High School for the purchase and installation of a replacement scoreboard at their softball field. Northgate High School request approval for the purchase of materials and installation for a new scoreboard at the softball field. The equipment installation will be funded by the Northgate Softball Booster Club. The total project cost for materials and labor is $29,326. Requirements of board policy FEAE have been met, and supporting documents are attached. Mr. Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve a proposal from Northgate High School for the purchase and installation of a replacement scoreboard at the softball field. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, quick comment. I just want to say thanks to the Northgate, in this case, Softball Booster Club. A lot of booster clubs do a lot for the athletic teams, but I know Coach Carly Baker has worked tirelessly for months to get the sponsorships that were needed to pay for this scoreboard. And don't know who those are. I think when it gets up, we'll see their name on it. But thank you in advance for those sponsorships, and I'm sure it'll look good out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
The last action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve the RESA lease agreement. This lease agreement allows for the use of the old Grantville School by West Georgia RESA. This organization serves our region with educational training and services. We are a member from West Georgia RESA and benefit from its services. Also, their presence in the building prevents the building from sitting vacant. We are coming to the end of a 5-year lease and recommending approval of a lease from 2023 to 2028. So, Mr. Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the RESA lease agreement. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Action items, Group 2, Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only action item I have for you in Group 2 is to approve school nutrition bids for the 23-24 school year. Approval is requested to approve school nutrition bids for the 2023-2024 school year. Bid tabulation sheet for the nutrition program items has been provided. The bids are as follows: U.S. Foods, with a bid that's actually rolling over from this year of $7,608,739.95. That's for groceries. Thomaston Milk Company was the only bidder with a bid of $810,191.18 for milk. Imperial Dade with a low bid of $64,421.74 for warewashing and chemicals. Imperial Dade with a low bid of $290,648.23 for paper products. Royal Food Service with the only bid of $12,325.25 for produce. And then Flowers Baking with a renewed bid from FY22 of $220,426.46 for bread. Mr. Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the school nutrition bids FY 2023 through 2024 school year. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Dr. Horton, I have one question just for folks who may not always know. Is it fairly common to receive only one bid for school nutrition?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great question. Unfortunately, in the last several years, it has become more and more common to receive only one bid in the area of school nutrition. We've seen a lot of companies that have begun to pull back from servicing school nutrition programs. So yes, sir, it is pretty common in this day and age to see that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Action items, Group 3. trips.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll call on Dr. Mark Guy to bring you trips. Dr. Guy.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. The principal of Noonan High School requests permission for the Noonan High School Chorus to travel to New York, New York from February 16th through February 18th, 2024 for an educational music theater. Students will miss one day of school. There is no cost to the school system, and the trip does meet our guidelines for out-of-state field trips.
Recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the Noonan High School field trip to New York, New York. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Ms. Barnett? Okay. Motion carries 7-0. I just didn't know. You can vote against it if you want to. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'll call on Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Mr. Keith Chapman. He's going to bring you budget report, sales tax. He'll bring the first budget workshop for FY 2024. Mr. Chapman.
Budget report, we were 382,000 under budget for the month, over 306 cumulative. That's within 0.15% of our budget amount. Sales tax, a little over 3.2 million. Year-over-year growth is still over 9%. So still continuing good growth there. As Dr. Horton mentioned, it's also budget workshop. We're required to hold 2 budget workshops each year. Tonight is the first one. The second one will be next Tuesday night, 6:30 at this location. We'll be covering the same information. Using the same format we've used for several years, we start from where our current 23 budget revenue of $238 million is and work down. Looking at our state funding, our 23 amount was $115 million. We're seeing an $18 million increase in QBE. A large portion of that is due to the increase in the health insurance costs that's being passed on to the systems. Our local fair share has increased $5.3 million, which is a reduction to our funding from the state. Small transportation increase. They've included a supplement for custodians in the budget this year.
If you don't mind, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Harris, if you would, it's the document that is budget workshop. It's the attachment there. I think you've got the revenue detail pulled up. You'll pull up the budget workshop. There you go. Sorry about that, Mr. Chapman.
I'm sorry, I didn't look up.
Yes, sir.
The state included a custodial supplement this year as part of our allotment. Small increase in nursing, showing a projected allotment for FY24 of right at $129 million. That gives us an increase of a little over $13 million in state funding. Our midterm was not as much in FY23 as we had budgeted. Our growth was not quite as large. So what we're budgeting for 24, we're showing a slight decrease in. Our federal indirect costs, we're able to charge overhead to the federal programs to cover some indirect costs there. That changes slightly year to year. We do not see any bus replacement funds projected this year. Other state grants, small change. Interest rates are over 4% now. So we're actually seeing some interest earnings for a change over the last few years. Projected TAVT, title ad valorem tax that replaced your car tags. Slight increase there. No change in other intangible taxes. GNET's special ed program that has been handled through the RESA will now come to us to be handled. Have revenue there. We have offsetting expenses further down. Miscellaneous, don't project any change. When we did the millage rate last summer, we did accept some growth above the rollback rate. We knew the local fair share would increase significantly. We still expect over a $2 million increase associated above the $5 million that we've seen. And we also knew we would be looking at making some adjustments for teachers going into next year, trying to stay competitive. We will get to that further down the sheet. Looking at a 5.25% increase on the digest this year, looking at the prior year growth, maintaining a millage rate of 16 mills with that growth. Projected revenue increase of $31.8 million, projected revenue of $270 million. Expenditures, we are showing $273.7 million, budgeting 3.5 million in the reserves. Our total salaries and benefits out of this is $251.5 million. 91.89% of the budget is salaries and benefits. We have a significant number of changes to personnel this year. The full cost of the health insurance was passed on to us for certified employees. It will be phased in over 3 years for our classified. That was over $11 million just for next year. Increasing the teacher salary by $2,000 from the state, and we're also adjusting, or have projected to adjust, local supplements for teachers ranging from $2,000 to $3,800. That's over $10 million. Steps for all employees, we're moving 20 members from our ESSERs from the federal monies, which will run out next fiscal year, back into the general fund, so we do not have so many people to absorb in the final year.
Mr. Chapman, could I stop you just a second before you get too far? In the increase in health insurance, the certified and the classified, does that change the coverage for our employees, or is that just the expense for current coverage?
Current coverage, no change
Wow.
in coverage. Sorry. Here's where we pick up the GNET's personnel cost, as I mentioned above. We're increasing local school-based supplements that across the school system there, adjusting the admin schedule based on the change to the teacher schedule, since the majority of administrators are certified employees. Moving parapros from 180 days to 183. 5 custodial vacancies. The state required school food, custodial, and bus drivers to get an additional raise this year. That's a little over $200,000. Adding in the custodial supplements, as I mentioned, that funding above. Adding a teacher and a parapro at the elementary alternative school. Adjusting the supplemental retirement plan. We do offer a supplemental retirement to our employees who are not covered under teachers' retirement. And that's our, yes. And adjusting nurses from 180 days to 183 days.
You knew I was going to stop you at some point.
That's fine.
When you see the adjustment of parapros and nurses from 180-day calendars to 183-day calendars, that is so that they can come in during pre-planning times and be able to prepare for the school year. We were doing timesheets, hundreds of timesheets, when those employees were coming in early as it was. So we felt like it was better to go ahead and add them the 3 days, and it helps us out in payroll to do that. I will mention the increase in health insurance, certified employees. Many of those we do get state funding from. Classified, it is not, classified is being phased in, certified is not. That is part of the reason for the significant cost there. You may remember the governor did $2,000 in the state budget for certified employees. Last year, we didn't do anything for certified employees. And with inflation the way it is, we felt like we needed to come back and do some of that locally. So that's the reason you see that number there. I will mention GNETs briefly. Mr. Chapman did mention GNETs has been administered by the RESAs for years. The state has decided that that does come to the local system. With that, the expense for that now comes to the local system. We will get some state funding, but not all state funding for administration of the GNETs program here in Coweta. So some of those costs that you see there are because of decisions that were made at the state level, and others are things that we need to do to remain competitive in the market for employees in this day and age. So, Mr. Chapman.
Some
Mr.
other
Chapman, real quick, I'll
Yes, sir.
interrupt you also. Dr. Horton, I want to just say thanks, and I certainly support the adding those 3 extra days for parapros and nurses. I think probably a lot of those were working that time anyway. The other one is, and Dr. Horton, you discussed it briefly on Monday, the school-based supplements. That's for coaches and other leaders of extracurricular activities and
Yes.
those kind of things, right? So
Yes.
we certainly have to stay competitive there. Our student athletes and those others that participate in those, they benefit when we stay competitive and keep the best that we can there. So I appreciate those being in there also.
And
I'll
on-
let you continue.
On that one, that would be club sponsors, athletic supervisors, coaches, with the exception of head football coaches, K through 12. And those supplements, to my knowledge, they haven't been adjusted since mid to late 90s.
Long time.
It's been a long time. So, go ahead, Ms. Chapman, I'm sorry.
No, fine. Other major changes we were looking at in the budget, you recently approved the Georgia's Best Agreement with West Georgia. Property casualty insurance is increased. We had outsourced some of our custodial to a company we've brought back in-house, so we've increased our custodial supplies there. Our school budgets, school-based amounts have increased just due to enrollment. We've had some minor software increases and even down as far as to an increased amount in our mulch for our playgrounds.
Could you go back, Mr. Chapman, and re-explain the fair share? I know you mentioned that, just briefly what that is. I know what it is, but just for the public to know what it is and why it has increased.
We're required by law to levy 5 mills to participate in state funding. That amount is deducted from our state earnings. As our tax wealth goes up, that amount goes up, which directly reduces our state funding. That get you what you need? Thank you. Next page, it's our major operating items. I will not go through all of these. It's very similar to last year. And it's power, gas, SRO, software, different things. That accounts for 7.84% of our budget. The salaries and benefits was 91.89. All other operating expenses, 0.27%.
Dr. Horton owns SROs. We share that expense with the Sheriff's Department, Noonan Police, and Grantville Police for Glanton. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Looking at our reserves, as we end the year June 30th, begin the next fiscal year July 1, anticipating a little over $37 million in reserves, which would be 13.57% of our projected budget. By law, we cannot exceed 15%, so we're nowhere close to getting to that point. Looking for the future, we still have a significant amount of work at Noonan High School. We always want to maintain a healthy reserve, and we do know there's some more health insurance increase along the way.
Which one of these forms, when I was studying these, one of the documents shows that we are paying no fees or interest whatsoever on any debt? Mr. Harris, could you pull that one up? I just want to make a point
It would be on the tentative budget.
that we have no debt that we have to service.
If you look at the fourth column over, our debt service column is blank.
Is blank.
We do not
And I
have
think
any
that's
long-term
a
debt.
testament to those well before me on the board that have not incurred any debt that we're having to pay that interest on. Because as you mentioned, interest rates are up, and if we were paying that, we would probably see the increase there too,
Yes.
likely. So
I think that congratulations go to Mr. Frank Farmer. He was part of that got us out of debt, so thank you, sir.
Ms. Chapman, just want to say to you and Mr. Latimer, thank you for your work on the budget. I know we've had many conversations since January, especially since the legislative session started. I'm speaking like an old superintendent now, I guess, but this is one of the more complicated budgets I can remember with all of the changes and a lot of unknown. The state budget wasn't signed until, I think, day before yesterday. So there's been more unknown than normal. I think it's a good budget. It touches a lot of areas that we have been talking about over the last couple of years that we wanted to try to touch, especially for employees to shore up our workforce. It certainly does that. And we're like everybody else. Costs are going up for us, and we have to take that into account. We're also, I'll remind you, we're also budgeting on a projection. We don't know what the tax digest is going to do. We don't get that information typically until about the 1st of August. So there's a lot of guesswork that goes into this, especially on the revenue side. But we feel like we've got a good plan of where we're going, and we will adjust as necessary. But I do want to thank you guys for the work that you've done, and to all of our school level staff and our central office staff that have been involved in giving input on what they wanted to see in the budget. I appreciate each of them as well. So next work session will be next Tuesday, 6:30. And just a reminder for everyone, all of our financial information is on our website. You can go to the financial information tab. All of our audit reports, budgets for the better part of the last 10 to 15 years, and all of our SPLOST information is at the click of a mouse on our website for anyone to view. So thank you, Mr. Chapman.
Thank you.
This time, I'll call on Dr. Guy again to bring you staff and student attendance and your board goal report. Dr. Guy.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. For the 8th attendance reporting period, the highest staff attendance was Atkinson Elementary School. The highest student attendance in the program area was Central Educational Center. Highest elementary student attendance, Northside Elementary School. Highest middle school student attendance was Blake Bass Middle School. And the highest high school student attendance, home of the Vikings, Northgate High School. I'd like to share a couple of things with you tonight related to your board goal report. On Monday, June 5th and Tuesday, June 6th of 2023, the annual Coweta County School System Administrative Workshop will take place at the Nixon Center for school system principals, assistant principals, and administrative staff. The annual administrative recognitions and various leadership topics will be spotlighted, but the main focus this year will be an emphasis on our strategic plan. I'd like to also give you an update on our school system's Georgia's Best program. Georgia's Best stands for Building Educator Success Together and represents a unique partnership between the Coweta County School System and the University of West Georgia. The program is designed as a collaborative structure for educator preparation, maximizing local relevance, efficiency, and stability. That means that courses and programs will be identified and delivered through a collaboration with the school system and the University of West Georgia, ensuring materials and instruction are specific and relevant to the Coweta County school system and our Coweta community. The Coweta County school system, in partnership with the University of West Georgia, will offer school system employees the opportunity to earn advanced educational degrees at no personal cost in the fields of identified critical need. We have had an overwhelmingly strong interest in the program from system employees, with over 300 employees applying to the program. Applicants were entered into a lottery and will be selected for the program, and we look forward to the University of West Georgia actually making an announcement later this week as to the selectees. Courses will begin this summer.
Thank you, Dr. Guy. Last thing I have for you is the facilities and construction report. Northgate High School, you can see we're just awaiting final pay request on both the renovation and the addition at Northgate. Madras Middle School, Winston Dowdell, the fire alarm replacement, all work that can be done before the panels arrive has been completed, so just subject to a little delay there on the panels. I think that the fire alarm panels will be here by July the 19th, 2023. Softball field houses at all three high schools, still working on design on those, and hope to begin those projects right at the end of softball season this coming school year. Band towers is a new one that we have on the report tonight. At all three high schools, we're looking at replacement of the existing wooden band towers at each high school with structural steel. If you've ever been on one of those band towers, you know why. So we're going to receive those bids later this month, and then final completion. Hopefully we'll have that done by November of 2023. But it's a safety matter. It is past time for us to do those, so those are new on your report this month. Of course, the big one for the last couple of years has been Noonan High School. You can see if you've been by there, that project, the academic buildings have now gone vertical. I was in the gym early last week, and the gymnasium is coming along. There's a lot of HVAC, electrical work, interior work going on as far as mechanical and electrical and plumbing rough ends. In the gym, floor slabs are all poured, and you can see that the masonry block is well along, and the brick on the outside on the gym. So we're right on schedule with the gym. And then the academic buildings, everything's on schedule in spite of the rain that we've had and steel's going up. You can see that they've also begun work on the footings for what will be the cafeteria there. So you're beginning to be able to see what the end result is going to look like, at least where the footprint over there is concerned. We'll make one last mention of an item. The area behind Armory Road, or the area east of Armory Road, Mr. Cheek, I didn't make it by today, but Mr. Cheek sent me a picture where some of the trees and landscaping have begun to arrive for the area where we took a lot of the dirt from the old school site and filled in on that site. So hopefully we'll get good weather, and that will be completed here in the next few weeks. So with that, Mr. Chair, that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. We will move on to the public comment section. We begin at 7:15 each month. We're a little behind, but had important work. No, it's important work. I'm just going to read over the public comment agreement very briefly that each citizen had to agree to prior. So to guarantee an orderly meeting and to ensure that as many people as possible have an opportunity to speak, the Board of Education has implemented the following rules regarding public comment. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. The Board of Education will listen to each presentation without comment. After the presentation is made, each board member may respond if he or she wishes for a period no longer than 1 minute each. Only citizens of Coweta County or employees of the Coweta County school system may speak in the public comment portion of the meeting. No grievances will be heard concerning any specific personnel action or any specific county employee, except through the grievance procedure set forth in the board's personnel policy. Excuse me. No one will be allowed to discuss any matter involving threatened or pending litigation with the Board of Education during the public comment portion of the meeting. In the need to preserve order in the meeting, no person attending the meeting will be allowed to boo, hiss, cheer, clap, or otherwise show approval or disapproval for any speaker in any manner whatsoever. No signs or placards advocating any position or action or position will be allowed at the meeting. No personal attacks on any person will be allowed. As the chairman of the board, I'm responsible for enforcing these rules. No citizen or system employee will be retaliated against in any manner whatsoever for speaking on matters of public concern at the Board of Education meeting. Any person not recognized within the allotted time period for public comment will be rescheduled to speak at the next meeting. Requests to speak during the public comment portion of a meeting must be received at the Board of Education office no later than 3 hours prior to that meeting being called to order. And this evening we have 9 speakers. First is Russell Campbell.
All right, good evening. Hadn't been here in a while. Well, a belated welcome. Here's a list of some banned books. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway, The Color Purple by Alice Walker, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, and Mouse by Art Spiegelman. These are classics of great value, but they seem to have scared some people. It's sad, but the reality and truth of our world scares many. The desire to ban books only seems to be getting worse. Between 2020 and 2022, the number of books being challenged spiked from 233 to 2,571. It won't stop there. The people that want to control what we read will always find new targets. Because at least in part, book banning is based on hate. Especially today when the LGBTQ plus community is finding its place in our society. They have always been there, but those who want their way to be the only way kept them in the closet, hiding, scared, knowing the danger involved in coming out. Countless gay men have been attacked while minding their own business. Many outed gay and trans people have lost their jobs. They were banned. Their truth was banned, not just books about them. And why would this be from these people calling themselves Christians? Though Jesus asked us to love our neighbors as ourselves, millions of Christians never do. Instead, they judge. They ignore the log in their eye for what they see as the log in another's eye. I say what they see because I don't agree with their characterization on LGBTQ people as sinners. But I do note that Jesus spoke of divorce as a sin, and somehow, conveniently, Christians who claim to follow the teachings of Jesus so closely and who are so quick to label others sinners look the other way regarding their sins and the sins of their tribe. Because you can certainly step into any Christian church these days and find divorced people. But again, it's different. It's a different standard for their buddies. Just for the record, I don't see divorce as a sin, but these people that so often claim to follow the Bible so closely are so conveniently uninterested in what Jesus said about something their tribe does. Their hypocrisy is astounding. And this is because playing God and making the judgments is so very intoxicating for them. It makes them feel righteous. It makes them feel godly. The admonition of Jesus to pay attention to your own behavior and love your neighbors is lost in all of that. There were no qualifications on Jesus' statement, by the way. Love all your neighbors, straight, gay, black, white, Latino, immigrants, handicapped, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist, etc. All your neighbors, all deserving your love. But book banning is about attacking those not like you and refusing to understand their lives and their truth. Banned books mean banned subjects and banned people. They claim otherwise, but we see not only book banning, but the laws being passed. We see the attacks. Just days ago, we saw a person with Nazi beliefs murder 9 people, including 3 of 4 in one family, with only a 6-year-old surviving. Again, people that want to ban books are looking to marginalize segments of our society, not love them, marginalize them, engender hatred towards them, demonize them, and then reject responsibility as they always do. We need to accept reality and the reality of the people around us. They aren't there to hurt us. They just want to live their lives and not hide their truth in the shadows. Of course, there are times when we may limit what certain age groups see, but the banners are not nuanced and objective in their views, and they are not interested in anyone's opinions other than theirs. They won't say, my kids can't read those books. They will gladly prevent any kids from reading those books, and this often means that kids who need to know that there are others out there who feel like they do will struggle and suffer. And many of those kids will attempt suicide. Some will succeed, but the banners don't care about that. Again, this is partly about hate. It's our job to teach kids about the wondrous diversity in God's creation and how it is enriching, not threatening or harmful. Your job is not easy, but it is about supporting teachers and librarians in their jobs so that they can teach children the truth about this world. And it's about creating sensible policies that don't assist in marginalizing any of God's children.
Deborah Carroll,
See y'all. Thank you. As we come to the end of another school year, I know that I speak for the vast majority of Coweta parents when I say thank you. Thank you for keeping our children safe. Thank you for providing our children with some of the finest educators, support staff, and schools in the United States of America. Your dedication, caring so much that you all volunteer to be here. You volunteer to be at school activities. You share a child's excitement of getting to see a moon rock. Or I'm sorry, yeah, it was a moon rock. You share a parent's concerns and their pride. Your award is to see so many of our community youth beginning to realize their ambitions and achievements at early ages. We are a thankful community to you. And as we prepare for next year, I would like to ask one small recommendation that I hope the board would consider. The best, most informative speakers we have during the public agenda time are all students. They are bright, articulate, and have firsthand knowledge of our public schools. It's our students that have the real skin in the game. It's their daily life, their education, their future. I remember the bright, high-spirited young lady that spoke to the board about the dress code. I recalled having that very same conversation with Mr. Boyd when he was my principal in the 9th grade at Central High School. And Mr. Boyd, Dr. Boyd's door was always open to us. He encouraged us to have opinions, ideas, and suggestions, and he gave us a safe environment to express ourselves. In honor of our beloved Dr. Boyd, I ask that you not only keep your doors, hearts, and ears open to our youth, but give them top priority. Please consider giving students the first 5 openings on the public agenda. That is my little request. And I want to leave you tonight with an example of the importance of education. There are some amongst us that think Karl Marx's manifesto is some deep hidden secret, probably written on cypress paper, hidden in a deep cave, but when in fact most people with an average education are quite familiar. Some of us were even required to read it, and I don't mean just the Cliff Notes. So I'd want to say, you might be a Marxist if you had made the COVID vaccine mandatory. Oh, but that wasn't y'all. I'm sorry, that was China. Yeah, that was China. Let's see. Well, you might be a Marxist if you ban books that only tote the party line. Oh, wait, no, that's Russia or No Left Turn. But it's not the Coweta County Board of Education, because our Board of Education is just like our country. It's a democracy, and you do what's best for everyone, even though I know that that is sometimes difficult. So when people want to throw around scary names, scary words for their own political agendas, and it's not about books, we all know it's about voucher programs. Understand, the majority of parents in this county never bought that rhetoric in the last election, and they're not buying it now. So please understand that not everyone got the benefit that I did of being well educated in the Coweta County school systems. And for that, I thank you.
Calvin Anderson. Kara Fretwell.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for letting me be able to come to you tonight and express my concerns. My name is Kara Fretwell. I'm a teacher at Thomas Crossroads Elementary School. I have been there for almost 10 years. My husband is here with me tonight, and he is with the Coweta County Fire Department, and he has been with them for almost 20 years. We proudly support Coweta County. Tonight, I would like to bring to your attention a policy that we would like to see amended. The policy that we're asking to be looked at is JBCD number 6, which refers to transfers and withdrawals. This is the area we're looking for you to look at is the employee student transfer policy. It currently states that a student of an employee that lives or that is with Coweta County can attend the school that is in the closest proximity to the school that that employee works. Or they can also attend the school that is in their district that they live. We're asking for you to amend the policy to allow the students of the employees to be able to attend the school that is in the closest proximity or be able to attend the school that is the main feeder school for that location. Why are we asking for you to do this? The policy that is in place right now is outdated. It has a profound negative impact on the employee children. By not attending the same school as their peers attend, it can cause social, emotional issues for those children. This is already a very difficult time in a lot of kids' lives, transitioning from one school to another school. By amending this policy, you would be able to help with the consistency for parents and children. An example of how this is being affected to people right now is my school, for example, at Thomas Crossroads. You might not be aware that the school, Thomas Crossroads, they feed, for middle school, for example, they feed the 5th grade student body completely feeds in to Blake Bass Middle School. However, the students of the employees that attend Thomas Crossroads, we have to have our children go to Arnold Middle School. So there are a handful of students that cannot go with their peers to middle school. They're being forced to go to another school because it's in closest proximity. So if you do not live in Blake Bass District, you have to go to where you live or you have to go to Arnold Middle School. So I'm just asking for that amendment or that policy to be amended to where they can go to the feeder school. Some of the ways that this has affected students is there are the only buses that go to the middle schools right now are to Blake Bass. The school buses that come to our school at Thomas Crossroads, the only buses that go to the middle schools right now is to Blake Bass. When they have the Stepping Up meetings, the only school that comes to our school for the Stepping Up meeting is Blake Bass. There's nothing for Arnold, nothing for Lee, which are considered the closest schools. And also the parent nights, the only thing that is advertised for Thomas Crossroads is Blake Bass. However, you're saying that those students that are employee children have to go to Arnold, and that is not offered. No buses are offered, no parent meetings, no Stepping Up. It's affecting not only my own children, but it has affected people in the past that I've talked with, their children, and it will continue to affect children in the future. So again, we are just asking for you to look at that policy and amend it to add for you to be allowed to let the employees, students go to the feeder school of that school. That is all I have for you tonight. I really appreciate you letting me come and speak to you.
Elizabeth Blakesley.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Elizabeth Blakesley, and I'm a junior at East Coweta High School. I'm here to talk about my experience with the ECHS counseling department and the difficulty I had in getting the support I needed from the counselors. I recently transferred to East Coweta High School from a high school in California, which was a transition that proved to be uncomfortable as it was difficult to navigate my new environment. Aside from meeting once to arrange my class schedule prior to the beginning of the school year, approximately 4 days before the start of school, I did not meet again with my counselor till well into the first semester. I never received an email asking how the adjustment had been or how my academics were going, as I had taken on a rigorous course load this school year, nor any regards to my mental health. I don't blame the counselors, however. East Coweta High School has over 3,000 plus students and just 7 counselors to account for these individuals' needs. I don't expect the counselors to be able to comprehensively address every student. Each day, our counselors must get through the day, they bear the load of having to create and rework schedules, talk to displeased parents, handle dual enrollment, host information sessions about college and equip students to be ready for college, help students through mental health crises, make available non-college post-secondary options, make known local scholarships, acclimate new students like myself, all the while bearing the scrutiny of students and parents that often end up displeased. The reality is that it is currently impossible for counselors to give equitable treatment to the students that need their help most if they are overworked and underfunded. There aren't enough counselors at East Coweta High School to properly address student needs, and the blame almost always falls back on them. We need to increase the number of counselors at East Coweta High School so that we can not only alleviate the pressures on the current department, but also help students who are struggling with mental health, students that are marginalized and unsure of where to search for advocacy and allyship, and students that are just adjusting to high school and confused on how to navigate the next 4 years. Perhaps this can be done by hiring an in-school psychologist or BIPOC counselors who can relate to the experiences of our diverse student body. What our school needs is funding, and I encourage those on the board to advocate for a counselor weight to Georgia's current QBE funding formula. It is through this funding that we can create a more communicative environment between students, counselors, teachers, and even parents. I want all students to have an equal chance to succeed, and I know that access to school counseling, whether it be for education, mental health, or advocacy, levels that chance. I believe that more emphasis should be placed on providing students with the option of consulting an in-school psychologist, or some individuals to which students may feel comfortable in coming to regarding any strong emotions they may have, academic challenges affecting their mental health, etc. And I hope you will take this into consideration. Thank you.
Cameron Hammett.
Hi, my name is Cameron Hammond, and I'm a junior at East Coweta High School. When I asked my friends to state one word to describe East Coweta's counselors, a common thing amongst their response was a loss for words. One word I would use to describe them is overwork. Due to the large amount of students at our school, 3,000 plus, and only 7 counselors for most of our 4 years, our experience is indescribable because they're absent. As a junior at high school, I've met with my counselor 2 times. The first meeting I scheduled for guidance on scholarships, which in turn I was told to wait until I was a senior for. The next meeting was my junior meeting, which every junior is required to have. I think our counselors do the best they can with the cards they are dealt, so why don't we make it a goal to deal them a new set? I think as students, our counselors need to reflect our student body. A diverse group of counselors will make many students feel more comfortable, and it will give students their own safe space during their 4 years. As an African-American student, having not only counselors, but teachers and administrators that look like me allows me to feel more supported and welcome. I also believe me and my peers deserve access to mental health resources. In a study done by educationweek.org, amongst the top 5 obstacles to learning for high school students, feeling depressed, anxious, or stressed ranked number 1 with a percentage of 56. As students, we deserve professionals who are able to help us in ways we may not even know we need. I believe having a designated mental health professional at our school will take some weight off our already overworked counselors and benefit our student body tremendously. Students should be allowed and encouraged to be a part of change and coming up with solutions. A lot of our student body is afraid to speak up. Let's level the learning ground and give opportunity to all students. The Coweta Board supporting additional funding for counseling departments can help accomplish this goal, improve graduation rates, and give students better opportunities to succeed in high school, all while making students feel like their needs are important. Oftentimes as students, we don't feel heard. I think me and my peers deserve it, don't you? Thank you.
Joshua Weeda.
Wake up, research this stuff, stand up and be courageous and do something about it. That has been the monthly demand of your public comment speaker since at least October of 2021. It hasn't been the only demand, of course. At various points, you were asked to decimate your budget, submit to a 10-year audit of your financials, and if you recall, check the genitals of any student whose gender identity was, in the opinion of that speaker, in any way unclear. You've heard complaints about anti-white racism, CRT, claims of spiritual warfare, and you've been asked to take a side. You were told that NGOs are piping pornography into the libraries and Marxism into the curriculum, that on pain of crushing defeat at the polls, that you'd better do something about it or else. Since the crushing defeat of the attempted school board members last year, who variously lost their bids 2, 3, or even 4-1, the temperature in this room has fallen, and now, in the false flag truce, until the next school board election, it's fallen to a dedicated few to persist in their now very polite appeals for relief. Last month, those appeals rounded a corner and, in my opinion, crossed a line. Last month, 2 books were brought to you, not the worst of the worst, not obscene. They're brought to you on ideological grounds alone. No sex, drugs, molestation, or rape. We have a system for those books. Ones that they freely admit are working, not fast and thoroughly enough. They want you to audit the whole collection, fine. But now, ideas. They now want you to scour the collection and purge it of ideas. And last month, they finally told you why. As you are now aware, a Marxist manifesto exists. It is very old and easy to research. It's not fairy tale, not make-believe. It was entered into the congressional record, and you can find it, and its 45 current communist goals in The Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen. I've been very busy this last month because I did the research. I researched the congressman who entered the 45 goals into the congressional record, and that's true, he absolutely did. Albert Sidney Herlong in 1963. I also learned that he signed the Southern Manifesto in 1959 alongside 100 other segregationists who united in opposition to Brown versus the Board of Education. Maybe not the flex last month's guest speaker was looking for, but that's what happens when you don't do the research. But I did do the research. I read The Naked Communist, all 448 pages, including the appendices. And the 45 goals can only be found in that book because they are the original and unsourced work product of that author, an ex-CIA officer who wrote it as a government textbook for the military and intelligence communities in 1958 at the height of the Cold War and McCarthy's Red Scare. Now, there is a Communist Manifesto, which Karl Marx wrote in the 1840s, so long ago that people were already labeling things they didn't like as socialist and Marxist by the 1860s, when they did it to Republicans and Lincoln. I read the Communist Manifesto, dreadful, by the way, and did not find the 45 goals, but I did still do the research. You're being asked to pull books off the shelf because they're haunted by the ghosts of the Soviet Union, extinct for 30 years, that the precise plan to destroy the family and pit children against their parents was the official state policy of the Politburo, not the teachers' unions or the woke mob or whoever they're calling Marxist today. They believe that our institutions are systemically Marxist and structurally woke, that by being part of those systems, you can participate in Marxism without even knowing it. That it isn't enough to simply be a conservative or a Republican or a Christian. You have to look for everything through an anti-woke lens, be an anti-communist activist. That is their demand of you. I know this because I did the research, and I learned that in their determination to fight critical race theory, they invented critical woke theory. I've watched their documentaries, read their literature, consumed their media, browsed their social media groups, and looked into who their allies, sponsors, friends, and fans are. I learned about the 7 Mountains Mandate, a Christian nationalist plan to capture all institutions, including the schools. I learned about tactical civics, where citizens form their own grand juries and militias, the left and right hand of a lynch mob. I learned that there are only 2 kinds of people in America, patriots and communists aren't people. I learned that a government reform kit consists of a tree and a rope. Add your own traitor. I learned that the next civil war will last 45 minutes because one side has 8 trillion bullets and the other side doesn't know which bathroom to use. God help me, I did the research. I don't have time to cliff note all 448 pages of The Naked Communist for you, but I can tell you what I learned, that in their determination to fight everything they don't like by calling it Marxist, they've adopted half of the Marxist philosophy, most of its methods, and all of its worst behavior. Everything Skousen had to say about Marxist radicals in the 1950s applies to the parents' rights activist, the tactical civics proponent, the insurrectionist, the Western chauvinist, the white supremacist, the Christian nationalist today. Perhaps my friends in the back of the room resent being lumped in with all of that, but it's on their community shelf. And what you permit, you promote. Maybe they'll be back next month with their retort. Hopefully after they've done the research.
Jasmine Meehan.
Good evening. So sorry to bore you, but I'm going to finish what I prepared for last month, since I unfortunately had run out of time. So thank you for allowing me to do so. I had shared just 9 of that Marxist manifesto's 45 things to accomplish. And he did research, good for you. You guys should do some too, because there's so much more to it. It is quite scary, and frankly, it seems as if they've completed most of it already. So I just want to recap 5 of those 9 that I shared, just so that you can hear it again. Number 17 was get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum, get control of teachers' associations, put the party line in textbooks. Number 24, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press. Number 25, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. Number 40, discredit the family as an institution, encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. And the dangerous one, number 41, emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents, attribute prejudices, mental blocks, and retarding of children to suppressive influence of parents. These are real, they are documented, and that is just a couple of them. There have been and is a precise plan that includes destroying our families and pitting our children against their parents, just as number 41 has stated. So this communist agenda does not work when families are unified and strong. When morals and values take precedence over the impact of outside forces, their plans fail. All these books with these obscenities, sexual intimacy, rape, sexual and gender ideology, anti-authority content, are all just a small piece of something so much bigger. And we have been warned time and time again. I would like for you all to research this further. Take it seriously. Don't take my word for it. Do that research. We can see the aftermath of this agenda at work. We have an entire generation of youth that hates America, hates anyone who disagrees with them, hates God, and is overall confused about who they are. We have sadly allowed this to happen, all of us. It is time to shake it off and wake up. We do not have to allow it to continue and grow further. We have a choice. You all have a choice. It takes more courage to stand for what is right than to keep your head down. If you all truly care about the well-being of our children and the direction of their future and our future as society, I expect to see you in action. Fight for our children rather than justify and excuse the Marxists working against us. I heard a very brave Christian father recently speaking at his Board of Education. I do not recall the state, but he had an excellent question for his board. He asked, who is the pervert that is allowing this to be purchased and delivered to our libraries? Who is the pervert that signs off on this filth? Now, I think that is a relevant and looming question. We do not have the extremely disturbing book that he was referring to, but we have many others. I could give you all a list tonight, but what would you do with it? You do not seem to mind the perversion in our schools. Confirmed by you guys at Northgate, we allow it in a classroom setting. So it does not seem to faze you at all that we have children as young as 11 permitted to read garbage. But yet I could almost guarantee if I read some of the disgusting passages out loud tonight, I would be harshly written about in the Noonan Times-Herald without the proper context. Why have you not all shared the information on your webpage about any of the books in question? In your facts versus fiction, you mentioned pornography as not being available to children in schools. But what about obscenities that may not fall under the pornography category? It is misguiding of you to not be fully transparent with the community. Why won't you share the pages out of the books that are currently under review or that have been reviewed and permitted to stay in our media centers? You won't even discuss it or mention it here at these meetings where many of us have been coming for over a year and a half to expose this problem. Are you all simply on board with the Marxist agenda at play? Are you too full of pride to see what is happening in our own Coweta County? Are you ashamed at all of what has been brought to your attention? I can tell you that parents are starting to finally see this evil. They may not be as bold as I am to come here and speak every month to say my piece, but they are starting to wake up. Thank you for your time.
Alan Brady.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's been a while since I last appeared at this podium. I'm sure you missed me. It's May, the graduation month. Congratulations to all the soon-to-be graduates, their parents, and the teachers and staff and others who got them to the finish line. Best wishes for the future and good luck. Seems like you're going to need it. Prayers for your success. Remember him from whom all blessings flow. Congratulations also to the various winners who were recognized earlier. It's encouraging to see that competition still lives. Whether you win or not, I believe that serious maximum effort always improves you. I've experienced a lot of improvement without coming in first in the course of my life. It's been 10 years this month since my youngest graduated from Northgate, and time does fly. Back then, we thought there was trouble in the schools and elsewhere in society, but it seems like nothing compared to what's going on now. Oh, for the days when school conferences were held because my oldest son was reading library books in math class, or my daughter was furious over a group punishment incident when some of her classmates talked in the hall and everybody got detention, or only one ever, she's still mad about it. Or my youngest son decided he needed to go to the gym early and get prepared for an out-of-town football game over at McIntosh later that evening and skipped his last class. I'm so glad our kids are in school these days. And I fear for my grandson who just turned 3 and his unborn baby brother when their turn comes. For a year and a half now, I and others have come here to, I'll use an old-fashioned word you don't hear much anymore, beseech you to recognize that evil has gotten its foot in the door in our county schools and to take action, which you're completely authorized to do, to eliminate it. As you may have guessed, I'm talking about the tiny handful of sexually explicit books which have been clearly identified as being present. With a simple motion, second, and vote, you can easily direct these materials to be removed or at least restricted wherever they are present tomorrow. And yet, as far as I can tell, you've taken no board action to deal with this problem. Some of you seem to have defended the presence of these materials or have said in so many words there's nothing we can do. Most of you have simply sat there in silence. The previous review process continues to slowly play out with, as I understand it, partial success and some removals or at least restrictions. But once that is completed, and if no parents come forward and raise any objections, that is that. The materials remain and the signal has been sent. Sexually explicit materials selected by school media specialists and paid for by the taxpayers are A-OK in Coweta County schools. The slippery slope is not a fallacy, it's an ironclad rule. Kids get the message. This stuff's all right and is actually encouraged. It's okay to consume this material and learn from it. Next thing you know, a school system is shut down over allegations that a 6-year-old girl was sexually assaulted by her classmates while a teacher was present in the room, like what is in the news from Texas now. Or other stuff happens. Like a high school student who's allowed to wear a tail to school because a student thinks he or she is an animal. Or an elementary school boy with a difficult home situation is encouraged to pretend he's a girl and takes on the name of his female teacher. Or kids introduced to pornography develop an addiction that's every bit as powerful as that of drugs. This stuff's really happening, and it's only going to get worse. Months ago, I mentioned our struggles with this to a wise friend who told me, just keep doing what you're doing, speak the truth, and leave it up to God to touch hearts and change minds. So that's what I'm trying to do. But it's hard. Even our Lord and Savior said at one point to shake the dust off your sandals and move on. I will continue to pray that the Lord does indeed touch your hearts and change your minds about this subject. Thank you.
Thank you all in the audience for being in attendance tonight, both in person and online. I also thank the members of the public who signed up to speak. There will not be any public comment responses from the board this evening. Moving on to board comments. Are there any board comments?
Mr. Chairman, I do have just a short comment. I know we've had a little longer meeting than normal. I just want to thank Elevate Coweta, the mentoring programs that they have in the schools. They had a fundraising event on Saturday night, and Dr. Horton said it perfectly there, that the mentoring programs that Elevate Coweta provides do work. In about 3 weeks, I think, starting from tomorrow night, there will be some students that walk across the stage and will be the first ones in their family to receive a high school diploma. And many of those are because of programs like Elevate Coweta. And I just want to, one, congratulate all the graduates, but especially those first-generation graduates. Job well done. And Elevate Coweta and those people that volunteer for that organization, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Go ahead, Mr. DeBose.
Thank you. Real quick, the last couple of weeks has been teacher appreciation weeks at our schools. I just want to say thank you for another successful year. And I want to give a shout out to Northgate High School. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows, but I think this may be the first year that every sport at Northgate has gone on to postseason play. And there's still actually a couple out there. I think girls golf and boys golf are still going. And all three of our schools, East Coweta, Noonan, and Northgate, actually have anglers this year in the state bass fishing tournament, which I think is a first. It's only its third year, so congratulations to all of the athletes this year. Great job.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. I did not know that. Any other board comments? Okay. Is there a motion to approve to enter into an executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and potential litigation?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thanks.